What's up, guys, and welcome back to the 4th episode of the thus far unnamed Star Wars podcast. I kind of want to keep it unnamed, even though Cody keeps on wanting to introduce new names and titles to it.
I've come up with a couple, and if you guys want to come up with some in the comments, I'll entertain the thought.
But I think it's fun that it doesn't have a name. I think it's fun in itself. I just like titling it Star Wars Podcast at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm more of a creative
for branding later on, sure, but I think it's fun. Just like calling it Star Wars Podcast.
Whatever floats your boat, maybe.
All right, so a lot of you guys were confused in the comments of a previous podcast. For those of you that don't know and missed it in the last one, what we do is we answer questions that are asked on Twitter first, and then the topic of the video or the topic of the cast will be addressed later on. Today we're going to focus pretty much exclusively on the main topic being John Boyega following the questions. If you just want to hear our thoughts on John Boyega speaking out against Disney and sort of his overall experience with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, that timestamp is in the description down below. So like I said, if you're just interested in that, go ahead and check it out. But if you want to hear the questions and the interaction, I want to get to, have you guys know me a little bit better and know a little bit more about my stance on various topics of Star Wars, and this is a free-flowing platform where you can get to know that and hear some of my opinions on some of the probably lesser addressed elements of Star Wars. Then stay tuned for the questions, but if you just want the John Boyega stuff, that's in the description below. So, we had a few questions on Twitter this week. This time I asked specifically aimed towards the current Star Wars climate, meaning where we're at right now in the Star Wars universe, what Disney has been saying about Star Wars, not so much in-universe questions, although those are welcomed. But going along with the theme of the John Boyega stuff, I wanted to hear questions pertaining to more of the fandom and the company as a whole in the franchise of Star Wars. So I thought that would be interesting. This comes from Zach. How does the Star Wars fandom feel about Luke's character arc? Personally, I felt let down. I just want to know if I'm crazy for thinking that. What do you think?
I was let down. I feel like you were let down on the sequel trilogy. That's not the Luke Skywalker that we wanted to see, especially you being Luke Skywalker's number one fanboy. I know that. I know that much. I mean,
it's difficult to say one fandom's opinion. Mm-hmm. The fandom, it's a specific person thing. There are, I'm sure, hundreds of thousands of people out there that love Luke Skywalker's character arc and feel like it's completely in line. Like what Ryan Johnson said, if you take Luke's character just in the films and you throw away all of the stuff that it said about him on toy boxes and all the write-ups about Luke, if you just take the way he's in the films themselves, that it kind of makes sense. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm sure there are fans out there. I know there are fans out there that do. So
yeah, I also feel like there's a lot left out. Like there's a lot for us to try and think about or imagine or figure out what happened between the two time periods in detail to truly understand why he kind of put himself on the island and isolated himself and.
Yeah, there's a piece missing there of the story. But I would say overall the fandom's pretty split down the middle for Luke. I don't see a lot of people that are lukewarm. Cringe.
Yikes.
People either really enjoy Luke Skywalker's character arc and feel like it's different and a very subversive way to the character that Luke was and takes the story in an interesting turn of events. And there's other people that just wanted to see the Luke Skywalker that we thought we knew become the Jedi Master that we wanted to see. Some would argue that he does by the end of the movie. He does become that Jedi Master that we all wanted to see. But, I'm not very happy with the final Luke product that we got. I don't think Mark Hamill's happy with the final Luke product that we got. Everybody wants to play the hero, Mm-hmm. And I think with Marvel, they've proved if you give the fans what they want, it's very rewarding and you're going to be given tons of money and a huge allegiance and loyalty to that product and that brand. that Star Wars is just missing out completely on. They wanted to tell a new subversive story that's different.
Did George Lucas have an opinion on what he thought of it?
I'm sure he said it somewhere, and I don't think that he likes it very much either. But again, I'm just speculating. Do you have any final thoughts on that?
No, I mean, after getting to know... Well, actually, okay, yeah, I do. So after getting to know you more, I mean, I've kind of, learned from your opinion about it. But if I were to go back to when I first saw, or even second saw, the sequel trilogy, I think I would be more of the lukewarm kind of person, because there's a lot that I don't know, a lot that I don't understand. It's like, okay, something could have happened. He could have gone through something really traumatic that would have, put him where he isolated himself. But now I have a different opinion.
Yeah. I think Luke, as far as the fandom is concerned, is the moment that it broke off and had a lot of people say, we don't like this Disney Star Wars stuff, because we were looking forward to seeing a Luke Skywalker. We had expectations for this Luke Skywalker, and they were not met. Mm-hmm. It would kind of be like in the second season of The Mandalorian if Baby Yoda is just like a teenager and is unlikable and a jerk. It's literally the same thing. We have an expectation now with Baby Yoda.
Right.
That he's going to be cute, he's going to be loyal to Mando, but if you do a bait and switch and you switch that up just because, that doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to be a good thing.
I mean, that's a very good way of illustrating it. I definitely understand how people felt and how people would feel about that, for sure.
There are certain expectations with certain characters. Luke Skywalker, he carries the expectation of being naive but heroic, and unshaking in his values and his beliefs. Mm-hmm. He's very flawed, but it's never his intention to do something wrong. In fact, when he's trying so hard to do the right thing, he oftentimes in the original trilogy ends up making a massive mistake. Mm-hmm. But the Luke that we got is just sour and old, and it really doesn't correlate with his character, I don't think. I mean, you see the frustration in Empire Strikes Back with Luke when Yoda's acting all, high and mighty and a little bit sour. But I think that goes along with Yoda's character, and I think that sort of makes sense. Mm. But Yoda was still willing to be involved and willing to help. It was still true to the character of Yoda at the end of it. This person that's been through such a horrible event and a horrible experience. I think that Yoda and Luke have a lot in common. Luke is supposed to be the Yoda of the sequel trilogy, but it's different because Yoda isn't this... He's a main character, but he's not the central character of the prequels. He's sort of in the background. And I think it's loyal to his character in the originals. He doesn't give up on the Jedi. He's afraid of training Luke Skywalker, but at the end of the day, he does make the right decision. I think it's the same thing with Luke, only the audience is more attached to Luke than they are with Yoda. So,
right.
I just think Lucasfilm wasn't as careful with the character as they should have been. Let's move on. This one comes from Jeffrey. Which random good guy do you want to see more fleshed out? What wasted potential character, storyline, or super weapon besides Snoke, Finn, and Luke does anger you the most? I mean, you took away my three ones that anger me the most, actually. I would say I don't have a good guy that wants to be fleshed out besides Finn, but I would love to see more of Boba Fett. Boba Fett's cool in the comic books, but that's about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
If he is in the second season of The Mandalorian,
awesome.
That would be awesome.
Super cool.
Because we hear all the time about, Boba Fett's like unstoppable. Boba Fett's the best bounty hunter in the business, but the films don't really illustrate that at all.
Right.
So that would be my answer. But if I had to pick of the three that you named, wasted potential, Snoke and Luke are pretty much tied. Snoke had all of these grand implications and just nothing happened.
I was really disappointed with what Snoke turned out to be because he seemed so massive, but then as the sequel trilogy went on, he just became lesser and lesser. And I don't know. It was just kind of disappointing.
He's relegated to a nothing character just like Finn was.
Exactly.
Which is unfortunate because he's so prominently featured in The Force Awakens as this massive figure that's super important. And I get all of you guys that love The Last Jedi, but The Last Jedi is where this downward hill stuff starts.
Yeah, because The Force Awakens was great.
I see on Twitter all of these people that are just so in favor of The Last Jedi, but are now speaking out about Finn's character.
Speaking out?
Like, about how Finn was let down. Mm-hmm. And how he's not focused on it all. And I don't understand how people can't see the correlation between The Last Jedi being the downward slant for the Finn character. I think that The Force Awakens is where that slant starts. Mm-hmm. Where, you know, Finn is not the Force wielder that was advertised. And we'll get into this more.
Right.
But I feel like you have to fault The Last Jedi at this point in time, too. Because they literally put Finn and Kelly Marie Tran, the two most prominent minorities in the sequel trilogy, on a mission that we talked about last week, how much I hate, Canto Bight, that means nothing.
Right.
That is something that happens in The Last Jedi. So I don't understand why you can tout The Last Jedi as this masterpiece and then at the same time say, oh, these two minorities, like, this is so wrong. Are you hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You concur?
I concur.
All right. I hope that answered your question. This comes from I Am the Heart Marksman. Where do you think they will go with the High Republic era Jedis as peacekeepers, or will they be dragged into another super galactic conflict?
From my limited knowledge, I view them more as, I don't know, like the old Western kind of sheriff kind of people.
Yeah, that's how it's described. They're the law keepers of the Outer Rim.
Right.
But what's going to happen is some galactic catastrophe is going to happen, and the Jedi and the Republic will be forced to merge, which is where we meet them in the prequels.
Okay.
So to answer your question, both of those things are going to happen. We're going to find very different Jedi, more ceremonial Jedi that operate on their own. But at the end of the High Republic era, we're going to see the Jedi integrated into the Republic, which will ultimately lead to their downfall. But that's that story. That's where it's going. The Jedi becoming a part of the Republic, becoming a slave to a government, and no longer functioning as the Order was conceived to function. It's the beginning of the end. Any thoughts on that?
No, my knowledge is so limited in that regard. So I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. No.
This comes from HazFN. Do you watch other Star Wars YouTubers? I personally don't, because I don't want my opinion influenced by them.
I do.
Nice.
I do because there's just different people have, because of that, there are different opinions. There are different theories that people have out there. And there are different ways that they entertain. And sometimes I just watch them for entertainment. Like, oh, this is interesting. Let me just watch this. Or sometimes I watch them as, you know, kind of, I don't want to say studying, but studying more Star Wars stuff. And learning and expanding my knowledge in the Star Wars universe.
I would say I don't really watch a lot of them because I don't want their opinions to become my own.
Right.
And I want, like, my style to be my style. I don't want it to be influenced by others, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. I mean,
it's not like a basketball game where it's like you can absorb information from others, even though you can. Mm-hmm. But I think it's very important that you don't become like a lot of other content. You want to separate yourself.
Right, and a lot of the other Star Wars channels, they do share individual opinions. I understand having a Star Wars platform as yours, as yours is, that you would want to keep your opinion your own.
Right.
Makes sense.
This comes from Veladimus, who asks, what do you think will happen with Ezra and Thrawn? I think there's an interesting story to be told there. I hope it's told in animated form, but I don't know what happened.
I haven't gotten to that point in Rebels yet.
Dave Filoni has said that they're both still alive. So that's awesome. And there will be a story about them featured at some point, I'm sure. I hope it's not in The Mandalorian because I want Star Wars to feel like a big universe that's interconnected, but not too interconnected.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that either because I like how The Mandalorian kind of started as its own thing. And there were all these new characters, new ideas. And I think it's cool that some of the characters that we've grown to really know and love and like from like the Clone Wars are going to be coming in as hopefully just parts of it. Maybe a main part, but just for this season. But like I love Ahsoka Tano, but I don't want her to be, I mean, if she's in this season and plays, a kind of a main part, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't want her to go into like the next season because I feel like then they're trying to pull from more, well-known characters rather than develop new things.
I think that this one should be a merging of both of those ideas where, you introduce the new, but you also connect it with the old, which I think that the first season of The Mandalorian did wonderfully. It has things that we recognize and planets that we know, but it's about new characters.
Right.
This is a really cool story. Question. This comes from Ibrahim Khan. What are your thoughts on Moff Gideon? What do you think? How do you think he retrieves the Darksaber? I am so excited to be scared of a Star Wars villain again.
Yeah?
Yeah. I am not very much intimidated by Kylo Ren. I don't think I'm supposed to be. I think Kylo Ren is a fun villain. But I am
more relatable.
More
relatable than other villains. For sure.
I am ready for a hardcore evil Star Wars villain again.
I hope that he is like a former Inquisitor or knows the way of like lightsaber combat really well, or has like maybe a mixture of different forms. And I hope that he has a relatively equal battle, or a lightsaber duel between him and somebody. I think that is probably...
I think Ahsoka would wipe the floor
I know
with him.
you say that. I know you say
if
that.
If Ahsoka can fight Darth Vader...
But Darth Vader has, deeper down. I know that he shut himself down and wanted to kill her, but there's still that part deep down. That might make him hold back.
No, there's not that part that makes him hold back.
But he still has a bit of light in him.
But not with her.
I don't know. I don't know. But away from that, because...
I want to talk about that. I think we should stay on topic, because I got something to say to you, Mr. Cody.
All right.
The reason that Darth Vader is swinging at Ahsoka and wants to kill Ahsoka in that moment, and the reason that Luke is able to redeem Ahsoka, is because Luke represents a future. Ahsoka represents the past and the failings of Anakin Skywalker. There's nobody in the universe that Vader hates more than Anakin Skywalker. Not Obi-Wan, not Yoda, not the Emperor. He hates Anakin. Luke represents a better future. Ahsoka, her connection is with Anakin Skywalker, the individual that Vader hates more than anything. Luke doesn't hold that connection with Anakin Skywalker. Luke is a better future.
Right, but you're talking in... Now, I don't want to say you're right, because you probably are in like all of the scripts and the writings and all the other stuff. You know that stuff more than I do. But from my limited scrub knowledge and my knowing of people,
perception.
My perception would be that, if I hated...
you're speaking from your personal experience.
Listen to me. Now, if I hated Cody and I became Darth Hoffmanium, okay? Let's just throw that out there. I know you just cringed. That's funny. And I became this evil person, and I hated myself, the light side of myself, more than anything. And let's say you were my friend. And you were, okay, and let's say you were my friend.
I was Cody's friend.
You were Cody's friend. But I'm not a different person. I mean, I am still myself.
Vader and Anakin are different people.
But they're the same person.
No, they're different.
It's one person that has changed.
It's a different personality completely. That's what it means when he takes on the Darth Vader persona, is he's different. He's transformed. He's something new.
But there's still... So I'm thinking of how, now obviously
you gotta not think like, oh, I dislike Cody. You gotta think like, Cody is a failure and I hate him and all the connections that he made. You gotta take it to an extreme.
I mean, there's a lot of things that can be completely different from... I mean, obviously he probably had a lot of... Okay, so I'm thinking psychologically here. Now, obviously he probably had a lot of mental challenges that he dealt with, And also there's midichlorians. However that affects the brain of a Jedi. However, I don't know if that does. I don't know.
Oh, no.
So then why would somebody... Like, I mean, if he had mental challenges, I could understand why he would have some kind of disconnection with somebody who he was, okay, this sounds weird, but like he was really he loved Ahsoka.
Anakin loved Ahsoka.
Okay. But I like the only thing that I could see if I loved somebody like Anakin loved Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And then I completely wanted to disconnect myself from who I was previously, and I loathed myself. Is that a good enough word for you? Loathed. Yeah. I loathed myself and anybody connected to me.
Yeah.
I can't fathom wanting to kill somebody who I had such a strong connection with.
But this is where you're missing the point. You're thinking of it as I'm still myself. Vader is like, I'm completely different now. Like Anakin Skywalker was weak, so I destroyed him. You're still thinking like, oh, I'm still me. I'm just different.
No, he's not thinking about himself. I'm thinking about other people. Why would he want to kill Ahsoka?
Because Ahsoka's his enemy.
Why is she his enemy?
Because she's trying to prevent him from gaining the power of the temple, and she fights alongside the rebels.
I guess maybe I'm just too kind and loving of a person to understand, to be able to comprehend that. But I don't even know what we were talking about. I wanted to bring up something else, but then you strung me into this conversation, and
the good. Listeners are happier for it.
It was good. I appreciate it. But now my poor little brain forgot what I was going to bring up previously.
The point is, okay, you wanted to see Ahsoka and Moff Gideon fight.
Oh, and you're like, they would wipe the floor with
Ahsoka would wipe the floor with Moff Gideon.
Well, has she... Okay, so she's still been doing...
I mean, we don't know how powerful Moff Gideon is. We don't know if he can use the Force, but I just think that it would be crazy if Moff Gideon is a Force wielder that can compete with Ahsoka, who can compete with Vader, that he would ever come close to the magnitude and power of Vader and have him not have shown up before. Even if he's a previous Inquisitor, Ahsoka destroys the best of the Inquisitors.
I still think it would be a really entertaining, for entertainment value, I think it would be entertaining. And it would be really cool. There could be somebody else that comes in.
That's what I was just going to say, like a group of Death Troopers and Moff Gideon fights Ahsoka.
That would be cool. Or I'm thinking of somebody else that knows how to use a lightsaber really well. I don't know who. I don't want to try and think that deep of somebody who's around that time period who's still alive, but I think that would be cool. Just a lightsaber duel would be awesome.
You want to see a lightsaber duel in The Mandalorian?
Because I think that the modern lightsaber duels look really good. I mean, forget the meaning behind. Just think of effects for right now.
The aesthetics.
How cool. The aesthetics. They look a lot better. Technology's gotten so much greater. And because if we see a lightsaber duel, it's not in The Mandalorian, it's not going to have a whole lot of emotional value to it.
I think it could.
Between the two players, between the two who are dueling. I can't even speak now. You got me tongue-tied. Between the two people who are dueling, I don't think there's going to be a lot of emotion between those two. It could be a very emotional moment in the film.
Star Wars has shown before that you can have an emotional duel between two characters that haven't interacted a lot before. I mean, look at Ahsoka versus Maul in the Clone Wars.
That's true. That was
super emotional, and that's their second meeting.
Yeah. I think I just keep thinking because, he...
I don't think we need to see a duel in The Mandalorian.
It would be cool. I think
it'd be cool, but I want different.
I think it's going to happen.
I want different but respectful.
Right. And it may be similar to a, kind of General Grievous thing where he fights and then he flies, then he gets out of it.
Then he bounces.
Like...
I think a fight with lightsabers between two non-Force wielders would be cool.
I feel like that'd be really clumsy.
Yeah, but that'd be awesome because it's different.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was cool when Finn picked up the lightsaber
it was cool, right?
Because I don't know. I was like, he doesn't know what he's doing, and then Kylo Ren's like, you don't know what you're doing, whatever.
He messes with him.
That's not your lightsaber.
But then Finn gets him, and that's a great moment in The Force Awakens when Finn tags Kylo Ren with the lightsaber, and you're like, yeah.
I don't know about two. I don't know. I think a lightsaber duel, regardless, would be cool.
Okay. Should we move on?
Yeah.
This one is for you, actually.
Me? Really?
Yes.
What?
This one says, this is from MMA LAD that says, for Cody.
Really?
Who are your top 3 favorite Star Wars characters?
Oh, jeez. Top 3? You said 3 or 4?
3.
3. Top 3 favorite Star Wars characters? Darth Revan is up there. I just think he's so cool. He's one of the few, Legends people, or the people that's talked about in Legends that I know about, really, because I don't know anything about Legends. IG-11. I really liked IG-11.
Nice.
I think IG-11 is up there. The IG units are fantastic. I love them. And anytime I see them, I get excited because because I love the way that they move too. Aesthetically, just the way that they move and how they can move each part individually. Just the way, I don't know.
And they fight so cool.
The way that they fight is so amazing. Cool. I'm a big sucker for droids. I do like droids, but I don't want to just default on Luke Skywalker. So I'm going to think about somebody else.
But do you really like Luke?
I do like Luke Skywalker.
Which Luke Skywalker?
The OG Luke Skywalker.
You mean the normal Luke Skywalker?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the new one but I mean he's still the same person, but I do like Luke Skywalker. To be 100% honest, I'm not a huge fan of I am a fan of Darth Vader, but I'm not as big of a fan, I feel like, as most people are.
I think Darth Vader's so cool.
Yeah.
But I talked about this.
I also like General Grievous. I like him. I do like him.
Like his design and everything.
His design and the fact that, his story, his whole background story, and how it's so sad.
Legends. You're Legends Grievous.
Yeah. Legends Grievous. And then, I like the whole, Grievous as a whole.
I actually think that the canon story of Grievous is more interesting.
What is, within in a couple, a sentence or two, what is his
So you know
story?
how Legends is super tragic and everything?
Yeah.
How it's his home world is invaded and he's essentially betrayed by the Jedi?
Right.
Canon is a man that cannot wield the Force and obsesses over growing to the point where he can compete with those that can.
I don't know. I like the...
But we've seen so many tragic villains. That's my whole point.
But the tragic villains who kind of, I want to say, brought it on themselves. Grievous didn't bring that on himself.
Yeah.
In Legends.
But I like the idea that he did.
I don't like the idea. I like... Because it makes him more... You feel more sympathy for him.
Yeah, but that's my point, is Grievous isn't a character that I think you need to feel sympathy for. I think we've seen it in Darth Vader. The guy that is damaged and then he's cybernetically rebuilt.
But
I like the idea of somebody that wants to compete with Force wielders to the point where he will modify his body.
I feel like that's a mentality that he can grow into after all the betrayal and all the fact that he changed his name to Grievous because he lost his wife. And I guess maybe...
But that's so similar to Vader.
But Vader did it to himself.
I kind of see what you're saying a little bit, but
because his is different because he didn't do it to himself. He had it. He was betrayed. He became such a fantastic warrior. He became such a fantastic warrior that he got taken note of, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's really good." And then they brought him in. They're like, "Okay, we'll help you out."
Used him as like a gangster almost.
Yeah, and then they absolutely backstabbed him. And it was 100% not his fault. I feel like in all of the tragic stories of Star Wars, a lot of the people just kind of did it to themselves because of their own hatred, or their own.
Not Maul.
Well, Maul, he was just. I feel like his was.
He was forced and raised by Sidious as a weapon.
Right, but it's not. I feel it's definitely very different. It's very different. Maul's story.
I don't think that is that different though, because Maul is manipulated and he's influenced, and he's stolen away as a child and forced to, like I said, become a weapon.
Right.
I like the idea of Grievous knows of these Force wielders and wants to be trained as a Jedi and is ultimately denied training, and then he devotes his life to killing them to prove his superiority.
I guess what you probably find more interesting is the anger-fueled Star Wars stories, and I think that the sadness-fueled one, or the fact that it was fueled by sadness. The story of that is
the point. I like the sad ones too. Like Vader is, I would say, is more sad than angry. It's not that like I prefer a angry story to a sad story. I just feel like in Star Wars we've seen Darth Vader before, we've seen the tragic character before be rebuilt, and I just prefer the more strictly bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the dimensions. I think that's probably why I like Revan so much too, because there's so many dimensions that they can go through. It's like. It's not all bad. It's not all good. And same thing with Grievous. He wasn't always bad.
Yeah.
And he wasn't, he had his own life.
But when you watch Revenge of the Sith, do you get that impression that he has this tragic backstory? Because I certainly don't.
No, you don't. But that could be who he morphed into just because he became so obsessed because he mentally broke. He had a mental break where he just finally snapped and he just snapped into that evil personality that you're talking about. This is just my opinion going off.
But that's Vader, though. We've seen that before.
But he was, I don't know. I feel like he did it like Vader again. He kind of did it to himself.
Yeah, but the Grievous here, his whole idea is that he's a warlord and a warrior that wants to be the best. It's not that he has this tragic event and then he snaps as a person. I think that that's in line with what we see in Revenge of the Sith. I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku. He never says anything in Revenge of the Sith like, oh, the Jedi have taken so much from me, or the Republic has wronged me for so long. It's always just like, oh, I expected someone of your reputation to be much older, or I've been trained in your Jedi arts by Count Dooku. Stuff like that. He's not saying that he hates the Jedi because they wronged him. He's saying he wants to be the best. And I just feel like that's so different. And the impression that I get with Vader is very much the opposite, where he very much talks about how Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda will fail Luke just as he failed Anakin. I feel like it's so much more in line. And I've seen it before with Vader.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from. I like the other story better. That's just that's all. Those are probably my favorite characters. My three favorite characters. Yeah, let's go on to the next.
Should we talk about John Boyega?
Yeah, let's.
Okay, so I have a few quotes to read. John Boyega had an interview where he spoke out against his treating in the sequel trilogy, specifically the turning point in the duel where the bait and switch is revealed that Daisy Ridley's character, Rey, is the Force wielder and that John Boyega's character is not. Even though, despite the marketing for The Force Awakens, he was the one with the lightsaber, and in the trailer, he was the one that we expected to be the Force wielder. Mm-hmm. He thinks that it was misleading. His first comment says, "What I would say to Disney is do not bring out a black character, market them to be much more important in the franchise than they are, and then have them pushed to the side. It's not good. I'll say it straight up." That's the first comment.
I think it would have been so much more interesting if it turned out that there was a stormtrooper who, first of all, is black, because that's something that you wouldn't have expected originally. I mean, it's totally acceptable and totally understandable, but you have them take their helmet off, they're black, and you're like, that's cool, and then they turn out to be a Force wielder, but they've been trying to conceal that Force this whole time while working for the Forced Order.
Not necessarily conceal, but like not be aware of it.
Or that too, yeah. Probably not just not aware of it, but this whole time, and then figures out that. I think that would be such more interesting. In the sequel trilogy,
story. They say that Finn can use the Force, but it's only hinted at in The Rise of Skywalker. And only in The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, there's little breadcrumbs of like Luke fighting Kylo Ren, and maybe he can use the Force a little bit, but the filmmakers literally had to come out afterwards and say, "Oh, by the way, Finn can use the Force." Like, it's not clear.
I think it would have been a much more interesting story.
I agree, too. I think that it lacks...
Stormtrooper turned Force wielder?
I mean, we saw that in Legends with Kyle Katarn, who's one of my favorite Jedi. I think so, too. I mean, The Last Jedi really pushes Finn aside. I don't see the problem with it being revealed that Rey is a Force wielder, but then also make Finn a Force wielder.
Right.
Where it's like they both are, and the Force brought them together because they can both use the Force, and they both become this new generation.
That would have been so much better.
Yeah, right? Where it's like you have two Jedi characters, and then you have Kylo Ren. And
yeah. And then there wouldn't be that awkward...
Or could you imagine that if together in The Force Awakens, the two of them fight Kylo Ren? And it's sort of this moment where it's like the rising and rebirth of like the new Jedi. And you can still make it so Rey's more powerful and Rey's a Palpatine, but then you deal with like maybe maybe Finn, who's being trained by Luke as well, and sort of sympathizes with Luke because he feels the fear of this new order that he's adopted, of Rey being a Palpatine, the greatest enemy of the Jedi Order ever. And you sort of have that relationship break between the two of them, where maybe Finn's a little bit apprehensive of Rey after they discover the lineage. So much better.
So much more interesting in the story.
Right?
Like, because I was thinking, this was my thinking, it's like maybe Disney was kind of tossing up, okay, do we have a prominent, do we have a main character that's black, or do we have a main character that's a female? Or it's like, well, why couldn't you have just done both?
Yeah.
That would have been... all around, just I think that would be way cooler.
And like I said, I think it would have been super cool if you have Finn really grow into the path of a Jedi, and maybe you have Rey be a little bit more apprehensive of the path of a Jedi, and then it's revealed that she's a Palpatine, and it's like, okay, maybe this is why, But it's like this new Jedi Order rising instead of the whole, like, it all rests on Rey's shoulders, which, you can still have all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But... because I like the idea that Rey's a Palpatine. I've always liked that idea. And I like Kylo Ren's story. But I also think it'd be really cool that if you have, like, Finn, Kylo, or now Ben and Rey confront Palpatine in the end. Where it's like this new generation, this new threesome of Jedi facing the old Sith.
Man, that would have been so much better. Yeah, I've never thought of that theory or idea before, but... that would have been so much better.
And it's like, in the past, it would also reference, like, tie together the prequels better, where the Jedi, instead of not trusting each other in the end, which leads to Anakin's downfall, it's the big defining moment in The Rise of Skywalker that Finn decides to trust both Ben and Rey that brings them together, that they're able to defeat Palpatine. Where in the prequels, it's the distrust of Anakin that leads to Palpatine's rise. So then,
Palpatine falls with the Jedis trusting each other.
Yeah, and uniting.
So much better. Man. And I like the idea of... This is a lot more minute of a scale than that mind-blowing idea.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been made for even better and made the Last Jedi a lot better had Finn discovered he could use the Force. Uh-huh. And have another mind-blowing moment. It was like, wow, that's so cool.
Uh-huh. But it's I love that idea. I love the idea of The Rise of Skywalker ultimately being, the Jedi, this new generation of Jedi uniting against the Sith instead of tearing each other apart as they did. And it's that ultimate decision to stand by one another that leads to the Sith's downfall, when in the past it led to their ascension.
Yeah, that would have been amazingly better than what really happened.
Yeah. Should I read the next quote?
Go ahead.
You guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley. Sorry, I'm going to start that over. Ridley was on the next line. You guys knew what to do with Daisy Ridley. You knew what to do with Adam Driver. You knew what to do with these other people. But then it came to Kelly Marie Tran. When it came to John Boyega, F all. Not wrong.
Not wrong. I feel like Rose, the character of Rose was just kind of they didn't know what to do with her,
especially in The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker, where it's just
they're oh, I gotta study. Bye.
Yeah.
But it was almost like that was a retaliation to what was happening in the other movie, and they're like, oh well, people don't really like her, so we'll just say that she has to study. And
yeah, she's got to. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I feel like. I don't know. I think that Finn definitely dwindled as a character.
Oh, absolutely.
Over the period of the 3 movies, and Rose dwindled even faster. And
she just kind of sparked and sputtered.
Yeah,
she wasn't even a full light.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't know. I'll let you share your opinions on that right now.
I just think that. Disney literally could have had their cake and ate it too. They could have highlighted a minority, and they could have highlighted a female. They could have made them prominent heroes in the story, but instead they just got bogged down with trying to be subversive and behind the scenes bullcrap, and it's just so unsatisfying. But also largely satisfying when Disney talks about being so inclusive, and then you have John Boyega, who
was actually,
you threw my character aside, and I do not think that from Disney that it is racism that's coming from a white male. Full disclosure, so it very well could, and I don't have all of the information. I think it's more a result of poor planning.
Yeah, I would agree, but again, coming from white bread, I think that
I realized
it was all in the writing. I feel like
right. I realize I've never lived a day as a black man, and I can't identify with that. But I realize that the struggle and the idea of that constantly being in the back of your head, and that being very hard to deal with.
And how that could be a valid point to have brought up if that's something that people are thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's pretty much all I have.
On the quotes, that's the quotes you wanted to highlight?
Yeah.
I think that the trio of Force wielders would have been amazing. I think that would be so cool.
You could still have Palpatine as a bad guy, too.
Yes, and you could still have Rey be a Palpatine. You could have just wrote Finn's character so much better. We should make our own Star Wars movie.
Oh. That sounds like such a headache. I wouldn't want to mess it up.
That's true.
I much
maybe
prefer to comment
I'm just
on it.
overconfident.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We would get started and it would be so difficult.
Oh man.
It's much easier when you have the gift of hindsight.
Yes.
Where you can look back and be like, this would be so much better.
That's true.
That is so invaluable, I'm sure. But like working in that moment and trying to create the product, I'm sure is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
It's a shame. It is a shame. Still no trailer for The Mandalorian as of recording this.
Yep.
October 30th, though. Good news.
What's the news on?
October 30th is our release date.
Oh, okay.
One day before Halloween, which should be fun.
Yeah.
We're going to go down to St. Augustine, I think. We're planning it.
We're going to go down to St. Augustine at the
Haunted Lighthouse, haunted prison, haunted everything down there, apparently.
Yes. How is that one of the oldest cities in Florida?
I think so, yeah.
Or the United States almost. It's old. That's an old city.
I love haunted stuff.
I love haunted stuff too.
You do?
I do. I do. Like I told you about the stuff that like me and my best friend we wanted to do. We wanted to go to all these haunted places, and I mean we never considered St. Augustine. I don't know why. But it's like because in St. Augustine there's allegedly a haunted military hospital, a haunted prison, and a haunted lighthouse.
I've been to the lighthouse before, but we have a friend, Angel, who I would just love to see there in the haunted lighthouse. Oh my gosh. Man. We have to figure out a way to leave him alone.
I know. Oh, bless his heart.
We love Angel. What a sweet spirit.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and that'd be funny to do that.
Oh man, I'm so excited for Halloween.
Yeah. What are your plans for Halloween other than is that just it, the lighthouse?
No, there's Hallowscream going on in Busch Gardens.
Oh yeah.
Which is since they canceled Halloween Horror Nights, I'm probably gonna go do that a few times. Tampa. I don't know. But I'd love to take a trip and go check out all these haunted places. That sounds really fun.
There's a haunted cemetery in Orlando I was telling you about earlier.
Really?
Yep.
There's nothing quite like that feeling of like you feel like something's around you that is ethereal. There's nothing quite as creepy.
Yeah, and I don't know, being among the dead is a very interesting feeling as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's strange, but Maybe I'm psychotic, but I find it somewhat peaceful.
You find it peaceful? I find it I feel very distressed.
I guess I'm just... maybe I'm just psychotic. Maybe.
Not that I feel distressed every time I walk into a cemetery, right. But like when you go someplace with the intention
of being spooked. Yeah,
like I feel like I get there very easily.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're saying a little bit of a scaredy cat in the cemetery?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm a total scaredy cat. I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be scared.
Yeah.
It's not like I'll be scared and I won't do it, but I'll be scared and I'll do it.
Yeah, there was some people had said that they had heard a woman's voice like off in the distance, and other people... This is a little sad, but it was the cemetery for an old children's hospital. And so there's like different cemeteries for children. And sometimes you'd hear like children laughing, or sometimes you'd feel them like tug on your clothes. Yeah.
You would feel like a kid? Like a ghost kid?
Yeah. I've heard of that. I've heard about it. I've never experienced it.
I don't think I could do that.
Really?
We were in the church the other day, me and Tommy, and we were alone. And Tommy has said that he's heard voices in the church before. Mm-hmm. But I've been there alone a lot, but I've never heard anything. But we were walking down the hallway for basketball, and there was no one there. And all of a sudden, the new hand sanitizers like go off and dispense hand sanitizer. Like they're down the hallway. that's the story. That's the whole story.
I mean, that's spooky. I'm always creeped out whenever I'm in a church, especially like when it's nighttime and you have to shut all the lights off before you go out.
Oh, really? I'm the opposite. I feel so peaceful.
I feel like it's that kind of thing, where you turn off the lights and you run up the stairs as fast as you can.
Really?
I feel like it's that kind of feeling.
I always feel fine.
But then again, I might have just gotten that from, when I was younger. Everybody's like, it's spooky when you're young. I don't know. But then this is coming from me. I get scared. Or I get spooked in a church with the lights off, but I'm in a cemetery and I'm fine.
Yeah, no, I'm the opposite. Like, I'm fine in the church, but the cemetery, yeesh.
Oh, yeesh. People are going to think I'm such a weirdo.
Aren't you?
Yeah, that's true.
A little bit.
I'm not like, I go to the seminary seminary. I go to seminary. Yep, I went to seminary. I did. I am a church-going person, and I am fine with cemeteries. Oh, man.
Do you guys like haunted stuff? Leave it in the comments down below. That's how we know you got to like the 47-minute mark. But we love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. This was a very passionate episode.
It's true.
Very episode filled with a lot of emotion.
They just keep getting better and better.
It did. I think so too. An episode filled with a lot of
opinions.
I hope John Boyega does find the role one day where he feels satisfied and feels like he got to really embody a character. I hope that he does. I think he's a good actor.
Yeah, me too. I'm sad. It makes me sad to see how he feels about how he
not feel fulfilled in the role of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So sad. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, may the force be with you and have a great day.